Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a relatively requested video. So here I am on my couch. Red is upstairs sleeping. My parents are out of town, so I can actually film down here, which you guys seem to like. So I'm going to talk to you about my sorority experience. I will preface by saying it is not a positive one. I have said in other videos what sorority I was in, so I do feel comfortable saying it. I was in Alpha Delta Pi, which is actually the first ever sorority created in 1851. And it is a Christian womanhood, which is interesting because I'm not very religious, but it wasn't like a religious sorority though. It was just like based off of Christian values. And I was in the sorority for 3.5 years. Basically, I rushed freshman year and I was there until I graduated. Now you're saying, Katerina, if it was such a horrible experience, why did you stay the whole time? Well, A, I'm not a quitter, and B, there were perks to being in the sorority. Basically, my college had really crappy housing, but if you were in a sorority, the sorority dorms were like brand new, but the regular dorms for the people not in Greek life were awful. So basically after like the first year, I didn't want to be in the sorority anymore, and I'll get back to it. I'm gonna go by like year. But I stayed because of my friends and because of my roommate and because it literally was not even worth it to move out. So the way my college worked was you can't have sorority houses because they're considered brothels in Missouri, unless you're at MU, because Columbia is considered, what was it? It's not considered a city, it's considered like a province instead or something like that. So you can have sorority houses. It's like any house with 4 or 5 or more women is considered a brothel, which is freaking ridiculous. But so freshman year, I rushed, which they call recruitment, but I'm gonna call it rush because it's called freaking rush. And rush was interesting. So we had 4 houses in my college, and the house I ended up in, 80 Pi, was not the one I wanted. I wanted to be Alpha Gamma Delta, which I'm glad I wasn't. I ended up in the correct one. It's just the people that were in it with me sucked. But the people in the other 3 I would not have gotten along with any better. We had one sorority that was like the whole volleyball team, and they were a bunch of sluts. And then, no, and like not like legit slut shaming, but like they were the girls that literally slept around. Like that sorority was known for sleeping around with everyone. Like they were the ones laying all over guys at parties and like the ones you heard about, and it was it was a mess. And then there was another sorority that was kind of all of the really, really smart girls and all the debate team girls. And then the GAMs were like all the sporty girls, but also there was a lot of girls from the choir, which I was in, and GAMs, that's kind of why I wanted to be there. And then 80 Pi was kind of the misfits, which is interesting because a lot of chapters of 80 Pi are actually like the super pretty blonde girls and like the stereotypical sorority girl, but not my chapter. So I rushed freshman year, and at my school you rush in the spring instead of the fall, so you have a chance to get to know people in each sorority first, which is kind of nice. But then like as a freshman you end up like floating around in La La Land for a whole semester, which kind of sucked, but I understand why they do it. So I rushed in the spring and I dropped recruitment, which means when GAM dropped me, I dropped out of rush. And then so it's like 3 or 4 nights, I can't remember because I don't care to remember, but I dropped like after the 2nd night or something like that, because it was like you went to 2 nights and then the ones that wanted you called you back, and the only one that called me back was 80 Pi, and I was like, screw this, I'm out. So I dropped, and then at the end, if you haven't been picked up by a house, they can pick you up if they so choose, or they can try. And 80 Pi attempted recruiting me again. So they came after me. And most of the girls in my freshman dorm, in my wing of my freshman dorm, all my neighbors and stuff, they all went AD-Pi. And I had this one girl that was like my best friend freshman year, and she hated AD-Pis left and right, just freaking hated them. She thought they were awful, thought they were nerds, and they were disgusting and horrible, and I didn't want to join AD-Pi because I didn't want her to hate me. But I decided, you know, I can't make a decision off of one person, and this is the only sorority that wants me, and I might as well give it a shot. So I gave it a shot, and I joined, and then literally like 2 weeks later, AD-Pi went after my friend that had hated them so much, and she suddenly decided that she wanted to be an AD-Pi because GAM rejected her too. And she is just a running, we're gonna call her Barbara. So Barbara did not get GAM, even though we both wanted GAM, we both ended up at AD-Pi. So Barbara ended up being recruited after I think I was actually initiated. So, you know, I went through recruitment, blah, 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 and the way it works is when you're not an initiated member, you're an alpha. When you're an initiated member, you're a delta. And then when you're a graduated member, you're a pi. So alpha, delta, pi. And I'm not telling you anything that's not public knowledge. There are things I will not tell you because they are private, what the fuck ever. I could care less, but I know that like some of my sorority sisters watch this and they'll be furious at me if I tell people. But the alpha delta pi thing is pretty common knowledge, especially if you go to a school where people have AD-Pis, because, you know. So the alphas are all the new people. So when I was an alpha, it was really, really great. You get treated specially. You always get to sit in the front seat. If anybody drives, you never have to drive anywhere. They'll take you to get ice cream. There's no hell week, absolutely no hell week. I will not say I wasn't hazed because I was 100% hazed, but there was no hazing as an alpha. As alphas, you're supposed to be treated as like a queen, which of course I responded to very well. But so then you pick up your big, and so it's kind of like if you're not so familiar, it's a mentor girl. And we'll call my big Carla. And Carla was awesome. Carla was so much fun. She was the life of the party. She was so happy and so bubbly and so amazing. But she was in this terrible relationship with this guy. And like later on down the line, they ended up breaking up even though they were engaged. They were engaged for like 4 years and they broke up. And there's some drama there, of course. But this is going to be a long video. I got initiated, I became a delta, and things were fine for a while. There are only, at the sorority house, because it was a dorm, there were only like 30 some beds for my sorority, and there were not very many of us. We were the smallest chapter. I don't think there were ever more than 40 or 50 of us. So some people either elected to live out of the house, or usually it went by seniority, and they had a really low rush that year when I joined, so I was able to move in faster than most alpha. I think I moved in while I was an alpha, actually. I did. I moved in while I was an alpha. So while I was there, I had 3 roommates, I think. I ended up college with like 5 roommates, with disaster. So I moved in and it was fine. I really enjoyed that first year. It was really, really great. We did lots of fun stuff, which I can tell you about if you guys want details on like all of this stuff. Just if you hear anything that you're interested in, leave it in the comments below. So we did like paintball challenges where or like paint balloons and splatter challenges, and we did homecoming events where all of the fraternities paired up with sororities, and then we competed against the pairings, and that was really fun. Actually, that was kind of a bitch, but I just don't like being forced to do things. So then my sophomore year was kind of when it went downhill. So you were elected into positions, and I didn't really want to be in a position, but they make you interview with nationals. Nationals, like, they send somebody and they have like regional directors. It's so strange. And the regional person would make you kind of like had to hold an office. So I think my sophomore year I was like spirit chair, which basically for my chapter meant I did nothing because we didn't have any money for spirit stuff because my chapter was so small. We basically were poor. So, and then the extra money started kicking in. So you pay dues when you're in a sorority. And if you're in a large sorority, usually the dues cover just about everything. But the dues were not covering everything because we hardly had enough girls. So every time we had an event and they wanted us to order a t-shirt, everybody had to pay for the t-shirt. So I ended up, I'm not exaggerating, like 30 or 40 t-shirts. I made a whole freaking quilt out of these things after I gave some away. And so imagine 30 or 40 t-shirts. Each one costs $20 to $30 depending on where it was made. Some of them were stitched with Vera Bradley letters. They were nice t-shirts. And that started ticking me off because like my parents were paying for it. It was part of my college tuition for them and they didn't care, but it bothered me because I was spending so much money on these stupid t-shirts that we were like required to wear. So that started annoying me and it was fine, it was whatever. And then it was weird how the cycles went for presidents, but the president of my sorority cycled out. The one that was president when I joined cycled out, and it was kind of a Donald Trump situation. Like the girl that ran against the other girl, there were two girls running, and the one that won was the one nobody thought was gonna win. Nobody thought. She was horrible. I hate this person. Like, and you know, they're like, Katerina, don't use the word hate. That's such a strong... No, I legit hate this person. If I ever saw her in person, I'd probably swear at her and possibly slap her for what she did to me. And what a terrible person she was. So this girl pretty much almost single-handedly ruined the experience for me. She changed like all the rules around. She made all this crap required. You had to be at all this stuff. You couldn't go to school. You couldn't go to class without makeup on. They tried to tell us what we could and couldn't wear on a regular basis. They told us how fast we could drive on campus. Like, you know, there's speed limit signs, but they told us you can't drive whatever you, like you were, like within the speed limit, they created more restrictions on that. They were like, if you're gonna drive fast, you can't have letters on your car, and we don't want to be seen with you, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, getting a little pissed off. So all of that happened, and then that year was the year I really started getting into my philanthropy degree. So I auditioned or interviewed for a philanthropy chair. And I was the only nonprofit major. I was the only girl that had any experience with that kind of stuff in my whole sorority. And mind you, I've been working with my family's foundation since I was 8, so I know quite a bit of the, even at that point, I knew quite a bit about the nonprofit sector and how it worked and everything. And so I became the philanthropy chair. And at the same time I became the philanthropy chair, Barbara became whatever the chair was that was in charge of the philanthropy chair. So she became my sorority boss, which was great because by then we hated each other, because we definitely had a falling out because I couldn't believe that she wanted to be part of my sorority when she had bashed it so much and hated it so much, and now suddenly it's cool. So I was pretty annoyed with that. I was pretty done with her because I thought she was two-faced, which we kind of worked it out, and we're friends on Instagram, but like, I don't know, you guys, she's an interesting person. But so Barbara ended up in the position ahead of me, and I was in charge of, you know, reporting to nationals, our volunteering hours, making sure the sorority sisters were volunteering, and going to Ronald McDonald House and doing their hours, and holding a small fundraiser, which ended up not happening because I turned in all of my paperwork to Barbara, and then Barbara was supposed to turn it into the president, and then the president would turn it into nationals before I could hold the event. So I did all of that. Barbara never turned in the paperwork, told the president I did it. And she told me that, she said that I never turned the paperwork in, which of course I had an email trail. And then I got pulled into a standards meeting. So if you do something wrong, they pull you into a standards meeting to like have a chat with you and like tell you what your punishment is. I did that. I got pulled into a standards meeting, and Barbara just flat out lied and said it was all my fault. So basically that was a big F you to me, and that was when I was like 1000% done with her for a while, until a situation occurred in our senior year that made me feel sorry for her. So then all of that happened. And then that same year, my mom's mom, my grandma, was re-diagnosed with breast cancer. Sorry, my camera died if the angle looks different. But so my grandma being diagnosed with cancer was really hard on me. So I was about 20 when that happened, and she had been diagnosed and treated and cured of breast cancer. I think it was the year I was born. So it was really rough, and by then my cousin had actually joined my sorority as well, and there was a district conference for all of the main players, all the what do they call them, executive members of the sororities. So like each sorority had like a hierarchy, so like the president, and then they had their executive team, and Barbara was part of the executive team. So the whole executive team and the president were supposed to be sent to this district conference. And then at the last minute, Nationals notified the chapters they also wanted the philanthropy chairs to go, which of course I was the philanthropy chair. And we're gonna call the president at the time that I didn't like, we're gonna call her Gretchen. So Gretchen comes to me and says, you need to go to the national conference with us. And I said, no. My grandma was just re-diagnosed with cancer, not going to a national conference for some stupid sorority when my grandmother could die. Which she didn't, she's totally fine. She's in remission again. And she just said to me, if you don't want to do this job to the full extent of this job's ability, we will replace you. So basically my sorority president was asking me to pick between my grandmother that was diagnosed with cancer and a sorority. Are you fucking kidding me? So at that point, I don't think I ever told her to go fuck herself, but I quit. And that was like the halfway done point for me. That was like when I was just about done with it. And then we had my first recruitment. So the following spring, we had our first recruitment that I was a Delta member for. So I was an initiated member for recruitment. And during recruitment, you know, everybody goes to the houses, you have different outfits. So that was part of the t-shirt buying thing. And everybody's required to wear matching outfits and things. And Gretchen had sent out, because she was in charge of recruitment as well, she sent out a list of like, these are all the things we're going to ask you to wear with the t-shirts that we're going to make you wear for our outfits for recruitment. So I went out and I bought all the stuff. And it was the kind of situation where you would have to send pictures or bring them the item and they'd have to approve it. So if they said, you need patent leather kitten heels, you would buy the patent leather kitten heels. You would not get reimbursed. You would buy the patent leather kitten heels and then show them to Gretchen. And if Gretchen didn't like them, she would say, nope, take them back and get something else. Because she's a bitch. So she sends out the email, and one of the items that we needed was, wasn't patent leather. She changed her mind to patent leather. It was matte leather heels. And they didn't have to be kitten heels. It was just matte black leather heels. Which we ended up wearing with like a blue t-shirt and jeans. We needed heels with jeans, whatever. So I being my parents, my mom bought me some really beautiful pixie toe, black matte leather heels from Saks Fifth Avenue. And they were gorgeous. I still have them. I love them. And then we got back to school. She sent out the list over the summer, or over winter break or something like that. And yeah, it must have been winter break. It was winter break. And then we came back, and in our first weekly meeting, she said, we've changed our minds on the shoes. Now we want patent leather heels. I'm like, F you, I already bought these heels and I couldn't take them back because I bought them in South Carolina. Plus it was past the 30-day return policy on them, or whatever the return policy was. It was past that. So I had to go to a meeting with the nationals person. Like whenever there were like people that wanted to contest something, they held like a monthly meeting with somebody from nationals, like from the regional national thing. And it was an adult. And so I had to do that to say I'm not going to buy another pair of shoes, because I wasn't going to buy another pair of shoes. So I went to this thing and I said, here's the deal. You told us this is what it was going to be. You did not give us enough time to return them. And then you changed your mind because you changed your mind. And that's not my freaking fault. I have these shoes. I cannot return them. And it's your fault that you changed your mind. And the nationals advisor said, too bad, you have to buy a second pair of shoes. Which this nationals advisor was notorious bitch. Nobody liked her except for Gretchen, because they loved Gretchen. So that was really like it's stupid that it was over a pair of shoes, but like they were so ridiculous about rush season. It was horrible. Rush was hell week. Rush was absolutely hell week. That was when I got hazed. Was rush, you know, your hair looks wrong, you look stupid, you can't wear those clothes, you know, when you can't wear your hair like that because it looks bad on you, like telling you you don't look good, telling you you need to lose weight before recruitment, telling you you're not allowed to do this, that, and the other thing. It was horrible. So the 1000% tipping point for me was I had a sorority sister with Tourette's. And for one of the nights of recruitment, every sorority did a skit, and our skit had to do with like Wizard of Oz or something. And my sister with Tourette's was asked, or like she auditioned for a part in the skit, and they gave it to her. And then a few days before the actual night of the event, Gretchen came to my sister with Tourette's and said, you cannot play this part because we don't want the potential new members seeing you tick. So my sister came to me and told me that in confidence, and I, being the loudmouth, could not sit there and let it be in confidence. So my best friend Ashley, that you guys have met here on my channel, she was vice president, I think, at the time, or something like that. She was in a higher position. And I told Ashley, and I said, here's what's going on with our sister, and this is what Gretchen said to her. And she said, I will take care of it. So she contacted nationals and told them what had happened. And basically they gave her a slap on her wrist and the $200 fine. Now, if you were in the workplace and you discriminated against someone with Tourette's, you would lose your job. Are you kidding me? That is a disability lawsuit on your hands. Are you freaking kidding me? So it pissed me off because she just got away with it and acted like nothing happened. Of course, the whole sorority knew what she did. But, so, eventually Gretchen's reign of terror ended, and my best friend Ashley became the sorority president, and she was president for my final 2 years. But by then, I was pretty spent. I was pretty much done with the sorority. So I moved in with Ash, and anything else, Cashmere? Yep. I hate her. So once Ashley was president, things got a lot easier. Basically, I got away with whatever I wanted. I didn't want to go to Monday night weekly meetings anymore. So, basically I lied and said I had a class, and so I didn't go to meetings anymore. And I had discovered my heart condition at that point, so I missed 7% of all the beats that your heart is supposed to make. My heart skips about 7% of all those beats. So basically I used it as an excuse to get out of whatever I wanted because I didn't want to fuck with it, because I thought it was stupid or whatever. And then I also get I also get migraines, so if there was something I didn't want to do, I would just say I had a migraine so I didn't have to do it, and I'd stay in bed and let them deal with it. I really didn't care. I mean, I paid my dues. I went to the like 100% required things. And basically Ash let me get away with it because I was her best friend and didn't really matter. None of these things were important enough to matter. So, but senior year was when I started getting in a relationship with that guy that was really, really awful. But he was really great in the beginning. And remember Carla's ex-fiance that she was in a terrible relationship with? Yeah, that was the guy that I dated that I was in a terrible relationship with. So on that note, if you'd like a video on how I dated my sorority mom's ex-fiance, I may be willing to do a smidgen of a video on that. My cat is fucking horrible. She will not stop screaming. And that's pretty much my sorority experience. Basically, like 2 girls ruined it for me. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more storytime videos, let me know in the comments below what videos you want. Hi, pup. He just woke up. And I will talk to you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Love you. Bye.